On today's Dinging Corners, we are going to be doing a fun exercise that involves Tatis, Acuña, and Soto. So sit back and enjoy. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Dinging Corners, a baseball podcast powered by SlabStox. I'm your host, Nate, and today we are going to do a little fun exercise. So we're usually doing like a market update this time of year, and Ohtani's hot, Corey Seager's hot, right? There's your market update. We are going to do a fun exercise I saw on, I think it was MLB.com. I could be wrong there. They did a cut, trade, hold, or of Tatis, Acuña, and Soto. And so I thought it would be a fun exercise to do a buy, hold, sell of the exact same guys. And we'll be looking at a bunch of different stats and comparing them and comparing prices and then making an informed decision at the end on who we should buy, hold, or sell. I think it'll be pretty fun. And at the end, if you're listening to this, I would love to hear your thoughts on who you would buy, hold, and sell. Now, remember, with these three guys, the obvious answer is buy, buy, buy. You can't really go wrong with any of Tatis, Acuña, or Soto. But for this exercise, you have to sell one, you have to hold one, you have to buy one. So let me know what you think at the end, and let's see what I have going on here. All right, so we have buy, hold, sell. For this exercise, I took his Acuña's top update PSA 10, Tatis's top series 2 PSA 10, and Juan Soto's tops update PSA 10. You could have done this with Topps Chrome. You could have done this with short prints if you wanted to, or Bowman Chrome autos, anything you wanted. But for ease, we just did the generic Topps flagship PSA 10s. And we'll start with Juan Soto. So Juan Soto, through age 21, he is 22 this year. So through his age 21 season, he is batting .295 with a .415 on base and a .557 slugging, which is good for a .972 OPS in his career as a 21 years old, which is insane. 69 home runs to 23 stolen bases, a 16.9% walk rate, a 19.2% K rate. Those are both extremely, extremely good. Anytime you can get above like 10% and walk, you're really good. And anytime you can get underneath 20%, you're really good. The fact that he does both, incredible. A 261 ISO, which is isolated power, just kind of shows you how many extra base hits you get. A 329 BABIP, which is batting average on balls in play, so not home runs, not strikeouts, anything like that. Any ball he hits in play, take the batting average on that. A 152 WRC plus, which means he's 52% better than league average hitter. 11 Fangraphs WAR, that's what the F stands for. F WAR is Fangraphs WAR, and 313 games played. So right away, you'll see that 972 OPS through age 21, along with those walk rates and strikeout rates and WRC plus, pretty incredible. Now we move on to Ronald Acuña Jr., and he's through age 22, so he's going to be 23 this year, and he hit .281 average, 371 on base, 538 slugging, good for a 909 OPS. So you'll notice Soto through 21, 972 OPS, Acuña through 22, 909 OPS, so falling behind. 81 home runs, 61 stolen bases, so significantly more home runs, 12 more home runs, and almost 40 more stolen bases than Soto. 11.3% walk rate, which is good, but 26.4% K rate, a little high, not too bad, but a little high. 258 isolated power, a 339 BABIP, 137 WRC plus, which is 37% better than league average, 11.7 Fangraphs WAR, and interestingly, 313 games played. You'll notice Juan Soto played 313 games, and Ronald Acuña has also played 313 games. Pretty crazy that they both ended up the same amount of games played. Obviously, Soto has the advantage here because he is a year younger. And so through Soto's, age 22 season like Acuña, he's probably going to have 150 more games. And then Fernando Tatis Jr. through age 21, 301 average, 374 on base, and a 582 slugging, good for a 956 OPS. That's extremely good. Obviously, he's a shortstop, and he's the face of the Padres forever. Well, for the next 14 years anyways. And that's really good. 39 home runs, 27 stolen bases. Both those numbers are incredible. When you swing down to the bottom, you realize he's only played 143 games, and yet he had 39 home runs, 27 stolen bases out of shortstop. That's a 30-30 guy. Easy. A 40-30 guy, really, in a full season. 9.1% walk rate, 27.2% K rate. Walk rate, fine, pretty good. K rate's a bit high. 281 isolated power, 366 BABIP. Now that's shockingly high. 366, you cannot expect that to stay up there. So there is some regression built into Fernando Tatis here. A 150 WRC plus, 6.5 Fangraphs WAR, and again, 143 games played. So he's played significantly less games than the other two guys. He has a higher average, and we're going to get into that right here. So the leaders between the three guys. Soto, between the three guys, leads in on-base percentage, leads in OPS, leads in walk rate, leads in K rate being the lowest K rate, not the highest. Tatis would lead if you're talking about highest K rate, but why would you talk about that? That's not needed. Lowest BABIP, and the reason I take that is because the lower the BABIP, the more likely that his stats are accurate. Tatis with the 363, what was that? The 366 batting average on balls in play means that his 956 OPS, probably unlikely. You probably need to drop that at least 30, 40 points, and that is going to drop all his stats. So a little risky there. And then WRC plus at 152, Soto led all three of these guys. Acuña, on the other hand, led in home runs, stolen bases, and Fangraphs WAR. For these three guys, a bit of a thing here is that Acuña has almost 100 some more, has 160, 170 more games played than Tatis. And that's a full season of games played more than Tatis. And so home runs, stolen bases, Fangraphs WAR probably going in the other direction towards Tatis. And we'll get to that. Tatis obviously leads in average, slugging, ISO, age. He's 2 months younger than Soto. That's how crazy Soto is that he's been around for a number of years, already won a championship, and yet he is only 2 months younger than Tatis, who is yet to play an entire season of baseball. And current pace, he played 143 games in his career so far. Well, his current pace for 313 games, which is what Soto and Acuña both played. I extrapolated out his home runs and his Fangraphs WAR, and he was at 85 home runs. So he would be leading in home runs if he had played the same amount of games as Soto and Acuña and kept up at his current pace. And then also he would by far lead in Fangraphs WAR by almost 3 wins above replacement. And that has to do with him being a shortstop compared to Soto being a left fielder and Acuña being a center fielder, right fielder. This is what we got, but this is a what have you done lately for me hobby, right? People don't really care what you did 2 years ago. They care what you did last year. So let's look at 2020 stats. And so Soto, absurd. 351 average, 490 on-base percentage. A 490 on-base percentage. He got on base almost 50% of the time. A 695 slugging percentage, which was good for 1,185 OPS. That's absurd. To put that in perspective, Christian Yelich, who destroyed everyone, had 1,100 OPS 2 years ago when he got second in MVP, and 1,000 OPS when he won MVP 3 years ago. Soto had 1,185 OPS. Now, short season, at some points, Yelich had over 1,200 OPS. So take it with a grain of salt. That was definitely going to come down. This number was not going to stay at 1,185 OPS. Very unlikely. That being said, 13 home runs, 6 stolen bases, a 20.9% walk rate, which is absolutely absurd. That is astronomically high. That is unbelievable. A 14.3% K rate. Anytime you're getting a walk rate above a K rate, a higher percentage than your strikeout percentage, that's amazing. Wander Franco does it in the minors. Juan Soto's doing it in the majors, right? Huge step above Wander Franco, who's the number 1 prospect in baseball. A 344 isolated power, a 363 BABIP. So we talked about BABIP earlier. You're looking at these stats. That's a really high BABIP, significantly higher than his career average. If we go back to his career average, it's 329. And that includes this 363 bumping it up. So if we drop that to his career average, we're losing 34 points, and we're also dropping all of these. His average is going down, his on base is going down, his slugging is going down, and his OPS is going down because these are just too high, and a 363 BABIP is too high. That being said, 201 WRC plus, that's extremely good. That's 101% better than league average. That's like Bryce Harper when he won the MVP territory. A 2.4 Fangraphs WAR, and he played 47 games. So you'll remember it was a 60-game season. He played 47 of them. So if you extrapolate some of these numbers out, they're really good. I mean, that is not even a third of the season, which means he's like a 40 home run hitter, and also probably like a 20 stolen base guy. Acuña in 2020, a lot of people are like, wow, he had a down year, and yet you're looking at a 987 OPS, 250 average, 406 on base, 581 slugging. Outside of the average, his on base and his slugging were extremely, extremely good. And so people complaining that he had a down year, absurd to me. Absurd to me. Sure, he's never going to probably be that 300 hitter, but you have a little bit better BABIP at 302. You have that up to 330, and he's probably a 280 hitter, right? 285 hitter, higher on base, higher slugging, and he's 1,000 OPS. And how can you complain about that? 14 home runs and 8 stolen bases, 18.8% walk rate, which is absurd. 29.7 K percentage, which is a little bit higher than his career average. That's a little alarming, but again, everything else was good, so who cares? A 331 ISO, 302 BABIP, like we talked about, that's extremely low. 158 WRC plus, which is nice. 2.4 Fangraphs WAR, and 46 games played. So he played one less game than Soto and had the same amount of Fangraphs WAR, which is cool to see. For Soto, probably not Acuña, because Acuña has the base running and the defense over Soto, and yet same wins above replacement there. And then Tatis, to round it off for 2020 stats, he hit 277 with a 366 on base and a 571 slugging, good for a 937 OPS. 17 home runs to 11 stolen bases. 937 OPS is obviously really good. It looks a little bit disappointing compared to the other two guys, 1,185 OPS and a 987 OPS. So 937, kind of disappointing, but shortstop is a huge boost here to Tatis. 17 home runs and 11 stolen bases, a 10.5% walk rate, which is nice. 23.7 K percentage, which I think was a little bit lower than his career average. 295 ISO, which is good. 306 BABIP, which is low. 149 WRC plus, 2.9 Fangraphs WAR, but 59 games. So he played 12, 13 more games than Soto and Acuña, respectively. So let's look into the leaders for the 2020 stats, and you have Soto leading in average. He leads in on base. He leads in slugging. He leads in OPS. That all makes sense. He led in walk rate, which makes sense because he led in on base percentage. He led in K rate, the lowest K rate that is, significantly. He led in isolated power, and he led in WRC plus. Of course, he led the entire league in WRC plus and a lot of these numbers. Acuña led in BABIP in that he had the lowest BABIP, so there is room to improve there. And if you put him on pace for 59 games, he would have had the highest Fangraphs WAR at 3.1. If we round up a little bit, it was like 3.07, so we rounded up. Juan Soto was at 3.01. And then also he was on pace for the most home runs at 18. And I took 59 games because that's what Tatis did. And then Tatis led in home runs. Of course, he would have one less home run if Acuña had played the same amount of games and kept up the same pace. He led in stolen bases. He led in Fangraphs WAR. Again, Acuña, same amount of games, would have led. And then he led in games played, obviously, at 59. So a clear leader is showing up here in Soto. You look at the leaders from last time, he's got the most. On base percentage, OPS, walk, K, BABIP, WRC plus. You go forward, he's got the most again with average on base, slugging, OPS, walk rate, K percentage, isolated power, and WRC plus. So Soto is killing it. Tatis is second. Acuña is coming in third. But again, remember, Acuña, 987 OPS last year with a low BABIP. He increases that a little bit. Watch out. We're looking at a 1,000 OPS guy. How can you complain? Other factors factoring into this. So not only do you have on-field stats, but you're always going to have external factors. that factor into why people are investing. For Soto, he's already a World Series champion. That is big. Now, obviously, Mike Trout, it hasn't really affected him, but who knows? Maybe if Mike Trout won a championship, his Topps update would go, PSA 10 would go from 5,000 to 7,000. Who knows? But he's a World Series victory champion. I forgot to put on here, he plays a corner outfield, so he doesn't play a premium position. That is a little bit of a factor in the opposite direction for Soto. He's a free agent in 2025, which also I think is a little bit of a factor in an opposite direction. The other two guys obviously have signed long-term contracts. That is important for people investing. They want to see Tatis in a Padres jersey for the long term, right? They want to see Acuña in a Braves jersey because they have the cards. So they would like to see Soto in a Nationals jersey. We'll see what happens. And then, interestingly enough, he has, for qualified hitters, and Tatis is not qualified, fourth highest WRC plus in MLB history through age 21 season. And look at these names on here. This is the top 10. Mike Trout, Jimmy Fox, Ted Williams are the top 3. And then Juan Soto and Roger Hornsby tie with 152 WRC plus. And then Ty Cobb, Mel Ott, Mickey Mantle, Eddie Matthews, and Frank Robinson. You'll notice that Trout is going to be a Hall of Famer and probably a top 3 baseball player of all time. And then you've got 8 Hall of Famers and Soto. So one of those things where if it quacks like a duck and it walks like a duck, it is a duck. Well, if it hits like a Hall of Famer and it looks like a Hall of Famer, it's probably a Hall of Famer. Juan Soto, definitely going to be a Hall of Famer. I would be shocked. He has to play another 7 seasons mandatory, and he's there, right? Acuña, other factors, signed through 2028, which is really nice. He joined the 30-30 club at 21, and if he hadn't got injured, he was going to join the 40-40 club, and he has his sights set on the 50-50 club, which has never been joined. I don't know if he'll make it. Probably not. Seems unlikely, especially as he gets older. Stolen bases will probably start going down as power is going up. So he has a really sweet spot here where he might be able to hit that 1 or 2 years. He's 23 right now. By 25, I expect him to slow down a little bit and have no shot at 50 stolen bases, right? And he can play center field. He plays a lot of right field. He can play some left field. He played a decent amount of center field last year, but premium position right there compared to Soto, who's a left fielder. And then Tatis signed through 2034, which is massive. If you have a Padres Tatis card and he is signed with the Padres through 2034, basically his entire career, huge. And so that's a huge factor. And then also, major factor here, he plays shortstop. The other two guys do not. Tatis does. Shortstops make the world go round for investing. And this is no different. Look at Wander Franco. Look at Tatis, right? 2 of the top highest pay or costing guys, and they both play shortstop. So those are some major factors there that affect value. Now, prices. Prices were kind of all over the board. You would find Acuña's as low as like 198. You'd find them as high as like 230. I went with 210, kind of in the middle there, and a lot of them I saw around that area. $210 for his Topps update PSA 10. Tatis for his Topps Series 2 PSA 10, around $315. There were some higher, there were some lower. We want that. And then Soto, $310 for his Topps update PSA 10, $310 there. So Tatis, the highest price there. Acuña, by far the lowest price. Now, let's look at verdict. And my verdict is Acuña had a 987 OPS last year. A little bit higher BABIP. He has 1,000 OPS, right? 1,000 OPS for a guy that had a down year because he hit 250. That's ridiculous to me. I cannot believe that his prices are at 210. This screams buy to me all day. All day. Now, the other two guys I had to have a hold and sell on because it's buy, hold, sell. But I would not sell Tatis at 315, but that's what I have here. If you got to choose one, I would sell Tatis at 315. He's the best, probably all-around player, but he's the worst hitter, and people don't really care about defense, right? I mean, you look back, you're not going to look 20 years from now and say, wow, I really want Tatis because his defense was amazing, right? You will look back in 20 years and say, wow, I really want Soto because he's one of the top 10 hitters of all time. And so I have hold on Soto. And the reason he's not a buy is because he's $100 more expensive than Acuña. So I think there's more value in Acuña short term. But for right now, Soto, hold. Acuña, buy. Tatis, sell. My real verdict, though, would be buy parallels of Ronald Acuña, buy parallels of Fernando Tatis, and buy parallels of Juan Soto. It's more expensive, I know. But if the base craze goes away, if people are like, wow, there is 16,000 base PSA 10s on each of these guys, they're not going to want to buy them long term. They're just going to keep getting flipped and flipped. And there's only so much value you can get. So if you have the opportunity and you have, like, I don't know, 4 base of these guys, PSA 10s, maybe sell them and put that money into a gold number to the year or a foil PSA 10. Try that one out and see what happens. I would rather have those than base. So that is my what you should do. Buy parallels, buy parallels, buy parallels. And lastly, one more thing is that these guys all look like they're going to be Hall of Famers. They're all going to have the amount of wins above replacement at the end of their careers as long as they don't get like drastically injured. And so they're all buys. That being said, if I had to go with my heart, I'm going with Soto. You looked at the stats, right? Acuña was last, had the least amount of leading stats between these 3 guys, and yet he's a buy because of his value. Soto led all of these stats for the most part. I mean, especially in 2020, average on base, slugging, the whole 9 yards. And so if I'm looking forward 20 years, are people really going to care that Acuña and Tatis were better base runners? Maybe stolen base totals might help. Are they going to care that they were better defenders? Probably not. They might care that Tatis was a shortstop, but are they really going to care that Acuña was a center fielder, right fielder, and Soto was a left fielder? Probably not. So you should buy them all. But if I had to pick one, not value-wise, not like right now, Acuña is $210, so that's really good value because he's probably going to hit 1,000 OPS one of these next couple of years, and prices are going to explode. So that's value-wise. But if I had to go with my heart, it's Soto, and it's Soto all day long. You're looking at a bat that is an all-time great. We're talking fourth through the age 21 season WRC plus at 152. What happens when he hits 27, 28, 29 and enters his prime? Dude is going to be unstoppable. 201 WRC plus might happen every year. That's how good Soto is. That's how unbelievable his eye is. I saw a thing the other day where people have stopped challenging him in the middle of the zone, and they started throwing around the fringes of the zone and outside the zone, and he's just going to happily take his walks because his eye's that amazing. And when it's in the zone, he's punishing it. And so Soto is definitely the guy that I would take above the other two, not because of value, but just because that bat is an all-time great bat. Tatis is really good. Acuña is really good. Soto is an all-time bat. Maybe not an all-time all-around player, maybe not offensively or defensively and on the base pass like Tatis and Acuña could. They might all end up with like the same Fangraphs war when they're done, or Tatis and Acuña might end up with more. But Soto's bat is what sets him apart. And so if I were going to choose one, it would be Juan Soto. That dude is going to be one of the greatest hitters to ever play baseball. That is all I have. I hope you guys enjoyed the buy, hold, sell. Maybe we'll get a couple more of these in here in the coming weeks and see if we can do some other interesting things, maybe pitchers or Bowman Chrome prospects. I don't know. But I hope you guys all enjoyed that. And please, in the YouTube comments below this video, or if you're listening to this on podcast, DM me at SlabStox Nate, or put it in the little caption that Aaron does on Instagram. Tell me what you think. Tell me who you would buy, hold, sell if you had to choose them. Obviously, I know most of you, if you're listening to this, you would buy all 3, but you have to choose buy, hold, sell. So let me know, and I will talk to you guys again next time.